Hello Sharks, I am Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com. Make sure you check out Poker News for all of your poker news needs and some strategy. Today we have a hand featuring one of the best poker YouTube video bloggers out there, Rampage Poker. Make sure you check him out at youtube.com/Rampage Poker. He has about 77,000 YouTube subscribers. You know, if 23,000 of you go over to his page right now and click subscribe, we can bump him up to 100,000 subscribers, get him a sweet YouTube plaque that says he has 100,000 subscribers, and it'll make his day. Might as well make his day. Why not? He primarily is a cash game player playing all around the United States. And, well, here he has the pocket aces. We are playing in this hand. 2-5, no limit hold'em at the Brook in New Hampshire. All right, let's get right to it.
Next spot, picking up a better hand, pocket aces under the gun, and we're playing four-handed here. So first to act, I raise things up to $20.
Whenever you are playing four-handed, it's important that you make sure you play good, fundamentally sound ranges, unless, of course, your opponents make some sort of egregious errors. I actually have completely free four-handed 100 big blind deep charts for all of you. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/4max. I'll put a link to that below. We are, however, playing about 200 big blinds deep here, so, you know, the charts are not quite perfect for that scenario, but close enough. I will say, though, when you're playing live poker against presumably a little bit more loose, splashy, kind of passive players who are not going to 3-bet you quite often enough, you should play substantially wider than these Game Theory Optimal charts recommend, because really the worst thing that can happen is that you get 3-bet a lot, you get re-raise a lot, right? And if your opponents are not re-raising you a lot, you in turn get to play wider ranges. That said, pocket aces are great, you're going to play them every time, and you should not get tricky and limp, you should just raise it up. And by the way, under the gun here does not mean like under the gun 9-handed. It means under the gun 4-handed, which is the cutoff. Whenever you're looking at which position you're in when you're playing shorter handed, say you're playing 6-handed, just presume if you're looking at a 9-handed chart, under the gun +1, under the gun +2 folded, so you're actually in the low jack seat, right? So therefore you should be playing low jack ranges, not under the gun 9-handed ranges. Anyway, pocket aces. We raised it up to $20, perfectly fine and standard.
Turns out I didn't get the memo because we're playing four-handed, we're playing four-handed to the flop. Playing a nice little bomb pot here with aces, don't love that, but anyways.
He says we're playing a bomb pot, meaning everybody sees the flop. It's not exactly true, because in a bomb pot, everybody puts in $20 before the flop blind. As far as I know, this is not a bomb pot. Everyone voluntarily put in $20. If they were playing a four-way pot blind, their ranges are, well, 100% of hands, right? But if you raise and they call, they don't have 100% of hands because they're not going to call the 7-2 offsuit, right? They're going to have 3 reasonable ranges that you're playing your hand against.
Going to a flop 4 ways, which comes ace, 3, 6, 2 hearts.
That's good.
Top set is nice to play for aces, and when action checks to me, going to size down just a little bit to just $35, a little bit under half pot.
So this is a spot where you definitely want to do your best to try to get a read on if you think the button will bet. Because if the button will bet, you would much prefer to check here just to make your range generally look weaker and give your opponents every opportunity to put money in poorly, right? If you do bet in this scenario, you have to ask what is going to reasonably call, because you block the aces, right? So it's kind of hard to be against an ace. That said, there are a decent number of draws available with the heart draw and the random gut shots and open-ended straight draws. So I like to bet. When I am playing deep stack live cash games, I typically just bet like medium to big in these scenarios. I don't think you necessarily need to size down, because if anybody has an ace, they're obviously not folding. And they could still have the one ace left, right? And if anybody has a 6, they're not going to fold for like $55. If they have a draw, they're not folding for $55. And the problem with betting 35 is that you let your opponent stick around with just any draw very easily. And with pocket aces, when you do get a bad turn card that's, you know, not even all that bad, like let's say the 4 of clubs, you're not so worried about the 5-2 or the 7-5, but they are going to have it every once in a while when you bet small, and you're going to be on the hook to lose a lot of money. So this is a situation where I think I would just go ahead and bet medium to big. I know from a game theory optimal point of view, you should either be like checking or betting small, but we're not playing GTO poker here. We're trying to play maximally exploitative poker and playing deep stacked against players who are a little bit too loose, a little bit too splashy. I'm way more inclined just to bet on the bigger side, even with this hand that blocks a lot of the very clear made hands the opponents would normally have.
I want to get all the wider ranges to just peel one on the flop here, so we get 2 players to make the call.
We have a surprise guest,
blind,
Mr. Thomas. Come here, Thomas. I'm in the video right now. Can you say hello? Hello. Why are you interrupting my video? Oh, you love me. You're a good boy. Can you say good luck in your games?
Nothing.
Okay, good luck in your games. Go on. Go on. Bye-bye. See you later. Surprise guest every once in a while. Okay, what are we doing here? We bet 35.
The big blind. The turn now.
Small blind and big blind call. And we get one of the worst cards in the deck. 2 of hearts. That's a bummer.
Comes the deuce of hearts and action checks to me. This is pretty much one of the worst cards I wanted to see in the deck. Not only do all the 4-5s get there for the straight, but obviously all the flush draws, so pretty much completing every single draw imaginable. So we've been getting crushed so far, and I decided to just slow down a little bit and balance a little bit of my checking range, I guess, with top set. Super strong hand, obviously, but I checked this one back, and we're going 3 ways to a river.
All right. While this turn is clearly bad, any 2, probably 3, well, any 2 of hearts, especially, but 2s are not particularly great because the 5-4 gets there. Also, a 4 is not particularly great, although you'd still bet a 4. 4 of hearts is really bad, kind of like the 2 of hearts. 5 of hearts is really bad, kind of like the 2 of hearts. Any 7 is pretty bad, and every other card is reasonable enough, although a 6 and a 3 are hit cards you may not normally want to bet, but you definitely would here because you just have the super nuts and your opponent could easily have trips, right? So this is a spot where I think you probably just want to keep betting. Because think about the opponent's ranges, right? If the opponents do have hands like 6-5, especially if they have the 5 of hearts, they're just not going to fold to a bet. And they're probably not going to be overly aggressive and put in raises all that often. And the great thing about pocket aces is that you have the best draw, right? In this scenario, you have what? 10 outs? 10 outs to the super nuts? And that's a scenario where when you have 10 outs to the super nuts and your opponents actually do have a flush, they're going to be on the hook to pay you for a lot of money. Now, you may say, if I bet the turn and get check raised, and then I call, and then they keep betting the river, do I fold? And I think the answer is probably just yes, because like I said, I don't think people run all that many bluffs. Now, I will say, we are playing 4-handed poker. The people in live poker who play 4-handed poker, who are willing to play 4-handed poker, are often the more loose, splashy, battly, aggressive players. Because you'll find that in a lot of live poker venues, whenever people show up and they're playing 4-handed, a lot of the weaker, tighter players just say, oh, no, I'm going to wait till it's 8-handed or whatever, which is, well, lame. Remember, you went to the casino to play some cards, to get your gamble on. You didn't go there to sit on the sideline and wait for other people to show up. Come on, don't be a nit. Anyway, I'm not going to say you should just like automatically bet this, call it raise, and then fold to river bet, but if your opponents are not overly aggressive, that's fine, right? Because if you do make any reasonable bet here, like $100, let's say they make it 300 or 400, you're getting reasonable odds to call and try to draw. And if the presumption is they have mostly nut hands in their range, then like they have mostly flushes, then whenever you do get there on the river and improve, you're going to get paid off for a lot. So your implied odds are very good. Also, betting here on the turn is going to get value from some worse hands, like an ace. Like imagine they have an ace with a jack of hearts. They're obviously not folding, right? If they have something like pocket eights with the 8 of hearts, they're not folding. If they have any hand with a 5 or a 4 of hearts, they're not folding. So I think a bet of something like $100 or maybe even $120 is very nice. And your opponents just can't get too insane in this scenario raising you because don't forget, you have all the good big hearts, right? Make sure you check out those 4max charts. You'll see that you have all of the premium hearts, like Jack 10 of hearts. You also have some weaker hearts, like King 7 of hearts, right? If you decide to get a little bit loose, maybe you have the Queen 7 of hearts, and the Jack 7 of hearts, and the 10 7 of hearts, right? So you actually do have a lot of flushes in this scenario. So because of that, your range is reasonably protected, and you should not expect to get check raised all that often. So I think I'd go for something like a $120 bet in this spot.
The river is now a 10, pretty much a card that doesn't change anything.
Good river.
First to act on the small blind, he throws out a bet of $85 now.
If it goes 85 fold, we have an easy call because we beat, well, all worse value hands that are going for a bet, and you're not going around trying to fold top set.
And interestingly enough, next to act on the big blind to my right, puts in a raise to 320.
All right. Bet 85, raise to 320. We are playing very deep stacked here, by the way, $1,000 deep or more. So it's not all in, but it's still a very, very big bet for this game. I want you to take a second and think about what you would do in this scenario, assuming your opponents are reasonable, normal-ish players. Okay? If they're reasonable, normal-ish players, what do we do with our pocket aces in this scenario? Do we fold? Do we call? Do we put in a minimum raise, or do we rip it all in? I want you to pause the video and write in the comment section below what you would do in this scenario. All right. I think against normal players, this is just a fold. It's an easy fold because it's very easy for the small blind to have a flush or a straight. It's very easy for the big blind to have a flush or a straight. And we lose to all of that. The only time this is a scenario where you can anywhere near reasonably call is when you think the small blind is especially aggressive on the river, which, like a lot of people, if you give them ace jack here, they're not value betting. So if you think they're value betting too wide or just bluffing a lot, and you think the big blind is a loose, splashy, aggressive, battling player who will take any hand with like the king of hearts or queen of hearts and bluff it, then I think calling becomes reasonable. But even then, it's just a fold. It's an annoying spot where it's just so easy for you to be beat. I understand our hand is very underrepresented because we check back turn, right? But it's just so easy for one of them to have a flush that I think you got to fold. You all know me. I don't go around folding sets or even top pairs all that often. But I think when it goes 85, 320, it's just an easy fold. Also, you want to ask yourself, what bluffs make logical sense? And what hands should the opponents have that have the random, like, king of hearts or queen of hearts that check called a flop bet? They have to have what? Like, king of hearts, queen? King with the queen of hearts? Does that even call a $35 flop bet? Sometimes, right? So, not a ton, though. What about, I don't know, king of hearts, 5 offsuit? Did they call $20 pre-flop with king 5 offsuit? Probably not. It's kind of hard to find logical bluffs, right? Whenever it's hard to find logical bluffs, that should make you even more inclined to fold. I will say that this would be a little bit of an easier spot if we bet a little bit bigger on the flop, because then stuff like king of hearts 5 will just definitely fold the flop. I would not be shocked if one of these players did decide to play that pre-flop, even though it's a horrible call pre-flop, because a lot of players in live poker are a little bit too loose and splashy. Like I said, if you bet small on the flop, they're going to stick around with king of hearts and just try to spike a backdoor draw, and they may put in the raise here. The thing is that a lot of people with the king of hearts blank aren't even going to raise here because it's so easy for the small blind to have a flush or a straight. So this is a spot where I don't expect to get bluffed all that often just because there aren't a lot of logical bluffs available. A lot of people won't take the bluff spot with the logical bluffs, and you also have to worry about the small blind having a good hand too that will just never fold. Like if you give the small blind queen high flush, jack high flush, 10 high flush, they're never folding, right? So even if you do correctly catch the big blind's bluff, you still have to worry about the small blind.
Oh my god, what the hell do we do now? Given this action, we've obviously under-repped our hand checking back the turn, but what kind of value hands plays this way on the river? Raising over the small blind lead out here. So obviously we beat all of the smaller sets, but all of the 4-5s, all the flushes get there. They play this way by raising, and I think about it for a while, and I have a pretty terrible feeling about this spot.
So Rampage mentions here that you beat sets. I don't think sets should raise the river because it's very easy for small blind to have a flush or straight, right? It's also, I mean, you don't have very many flushes or straights, but, you could every once in a while, although I don't think it's very likely. The problem is if you raise with a flush or a straight, with a set, your opponent's literally ever folding a flush or a straight, right? Maybe they fold a straight if they're kind of tight, but they're not folding a flush. So I think raising a set would be, really bad. That said, people do make mistakes. People make errors. But I don't think we actually beat any value hands in this scenario from a competent opponent when the opponent bets the river. Now I realize he bet 85 into 215, so maybe some people will read this as a very clear marginal made hand like 2-pair or top pair marginal kicker, and they will go for thin value with pocket 2s or pocket 10s they got there, but I think that's relatively unlikely. It's just way more likely against the flush from the 320 raise. I will say that whenever you're playing live poker, you always want to do the absolute best you can to figure out what your opponent's bet sizes mean, because some people do have egregious bet sizing tells where they always bet, let's say, 40% pot with marginal hands, and they bet pot with the nuts or nothing. So just super clearly either kind of marginal or really strong or really weak when they use specific bet sizes. If you find players like that, you can make just really good decisions, because against this 85 bet, if you know this is literally never a flush or a straight, because he would have potted it with those hands, then we have an easy value raise, right? If it just went 85 and folds to us. But in this scenario with no reads, I think it's just a call, especially multi-way, because it's just very likely someone has something. Very, very good.
Folding here is certainly in the equation because I guess we really don't beat a whole lot, and I think we're just calling to make a crying call at this point. So given the configuration of these bets are really weird, and it doesn't seem like we're beat too often, you're not going to believe it, guys. I actually make the hero fold. We fold aces, put them to the side, and we're praying that the small blind is going to be able to make the calls so we can at least see and hope that we made the right fold on the vlog. But after some deliberation and thinking, small blind folds. So we asked the big blind to show for the vlog, and he does. Luckily oblige. He shows us the king of hearts, followed by an offsuit 9 for king high. So nice bluff, man. We are literally so dumb, so foolish, so ridiculously bad to fold top sets.
Oh, goodness. The king of hearts 9. So, go back to the flop. Does this player call that bet for 55 with the king of hearts 9? I don't know. If they do, it's fine. You just extract more value. Do they always or frequently run the bluff on the river? I don't know. Some people will, some people won't. This is where it's important to know your opponent. So this is one of these spots where, like, sometimes they're going to get you. And the thing is that when they show up with this hand, realize they also show up here with all of the flushes. So while they may have a lot of random king X offsuit, notice this is king 9. This is not like king 5 offsuit, right? So who knows how insane this player actually is on the river in this exact spot. Does he have the queen 5 offsuit? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. Rampage says he's incredibly stupid or whatever he said there. Look, you can't be results-oriented in this scenario. Unless you had some read that this guy in the big blind's insane, I think this is just an easy fold. Easy fold. Nothing even to consider here. Sometimes you're going to make the fold, and you're going to be wrong. You may feel foolish, but realize at the end of the day, there are loads of flushes available for both the small blind and the big blind, and, well, you lose all those. So, make the fold, move on with your life, and keep playing great poker. Thanks to Rampage for letting us use this hand. Make sure you check him out at youtube.com/Rampage Poker. If you enjoyed this video today, let me know by clicking the like and subscribe button below. Also, click the notification bell. And if you have any fun hands from video bloggers that you want me to review here on my channel, write in the comments section the link to the video and the timestamp, and I'll go check it out. That's going to be it for today. Good luck in your games. Have a great, great week. If you want to study poker a little bit more right now, head over to pokercoaching.com/free to get your free membership there and to continue working on your poker skills. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Howdy, partners. Station Master Little here with a public service announcement.
It's come to my attention that a few of you have become extreme calling stations. Now, I love calling. I'm the station master after all. But you can't call with queen high every time. Sometimes you have to fold.
Click subscribe to make sure you don't become a superstation.